midnight sun will rise. And you will see his glory.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Mask of the Slasher. We are continuing on with spooky season. Ooh, yeah, we're into that.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we decided to do something newer.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've been on kind of like a roll with some older stuff.
Yes.
And it's not that that's going to stop, but we thought we'd throw in a little dash of new.
Yeah, I like a dash of something we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Like for spooky season, I always like to throw in a couple we haven't seen along with the usual classics, you know?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And
jazz it up a little.
with Zatarans.
Yeah.
Josh has been bugging me about this movie because he watched the preview at least twice and then made me watch it at least twice. And then I had to watch it again to really make sure I wanted to do this.
Here's the thing, it's like I just have to pester her to watch a movie because she'll be saying, oh, just watch whatever you want. And then I try to suggest something, but it doesn't always work. So I just...
Now, this movie's not super new. It came out last year on October 19th. But we are going to be talking about The Lord of Misrule.
Yes.
Woo!
Yeah.
Within the last couple of years, I have grown to love folk horror, and this is no exception. This is definitely in that category.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's a dark, spooky forest situation.
Yep.
I'm all over it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, spooky forests,
Yeah.
they're good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So this basically seemed right up my alley. I just didn't know. I think what sold it to me, though, was the main gentleman who plays the character of Jocelyn, who is...
Ralph Ineson.
I can never remember that. And if you have ever watched The Witch, or The Vavitch, as we like to refer to it, he is the main dad in that. And he's just got a crazy-ass voice.
Yeah, and he's also in the Omen prequel that we talked about not too terribly long ago.
He wasn't in there a lot.
Yeah, it's not a huge part,
No.
but I mean, he's definitely in there.
His voice is so weird.
Well, yeah, he's just got a really unique look and a unique
yeah.
voice, and just I think his acting is really good. And he's actually going to play Galactus in the Fantastic Four movie that's coming out, so I'm excited that he's getting a big Marvel Universe
That's so weird.
debut.
That's just such a weird thing to even picture.
Right?
Yeah, I just picture him in forests all the time. So, and these types of roles.
Right,
Just, because, I mean, The Witch was obviously folk horror
exactly.
as well. This movie was directed by William Brent Ball, and it was written by Tom DeVille. And there's some interesting stuff about this movie. I'm going to go through a quick synopsis of the movie so you have an idea of what we're talking about, and then I'll discuss as to why, just why.
Why?
Yeah, why. So this movie is chopped up into 4 parts, essentially. It's 4 days. There is a young family, once again a young family, but this is a little bit different. This family is a mother and a father and a younger daughter who is preteen-ish.
Yeah.
And the mom... They moved to this town because she took over the role in the local church.
Right. The Church of England has what's called vicars, and basically similar to a Catholic priest, but they can be a man or a woman, and they are allowed to marry.
Yeah. And drink and swear, apparently, too.
And swear. Well, the priests get to drink and
Yeah,
swear.
it's true.
Trust me, I went to Catholic school, let me tell
But
you.
it quickly dives into the festival, which is placed in fall, autumn.
Harvest season.
Harvesty-ish, yeah. So... but something that's weird about that is that originally this was not placed in fall in the book. It was placed in the summer. But at the time that the director got this script or this book or whatever it came from, it was the same time that Midsummer had come out.
Ah.
So he didn't want to have too many similarities. And this is actually, I read an article in Fangoria, an interview with him, and him explaining that. So it's not just me pulling it out of my ass.
Right.
And he just said, he wanted to make sure he veered off the direction from what they were doing. But,
Yeah.
it didn't totally happen.
Well,
so,
yeah, there's this style of movie, there's always going to be similarities,
Yeah, they go to the fall festival, the harvest festival. And the Lord of Misrule, this is an actual mythical character that is used in like the harvest festivals. And basically he is supposed to be scaring off the demons that are going to ruin the crops. In this movie, there is a fictional demon. His name is Galogog.
Yep.
And this character does not exist in anything else. They made him up for this movie.
Right.
But let me tell you, I had a hard time understanding what the hell they were saying every time they said it. Probably just because of the English accents.
Right.
But it's just not it doesn't roll off the
Right,
tongue,
yeah,
really.
yeah.
Galogog. They're at this festival, and the Lord of Misrule, he does his whole speech and blah, blah, blah. And while they're out dancing in the fields, The little girl, Grace, she disappears.
Right.
So you dive right into this, probably within like the first 15 minutes
Yeah,
of
I'd
the
say
movie.
it gets going pretty quickly, which I appreciate.
I do and I don't, but we'll get to that. So the mom, of course, everybody's freaking out about this, or so you think.
Right.
And the mom is, she's like, oh shit, where's my kid? Blah, blah, blah. And she tries to go looking and she sees her in the woods.
Yeah.
But then it just disappears and it was just a vision or something like that. And I don't know, maybe she was getting into the wine
Yeah,
a little
sacrificial. Yeah.
That's when we kind of start to learn about the townspeople. You see them all in church at the beginning, so you're thinking that's what direction this is going to go.
Right.
And that they're all going to be on her side. But you slowly start to see that things are not as they seem.
Yeah.
People don't care, really. They act like they care about this, but they don't.
Right.
They don't. And Jocelyn, he's actually the Lord of Misrule.
Yeah.
And he's also basically the town leader.
Yeah. He's sort of the Lord Summerisle, if you've seen Wicker Man.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly.
Plays that same role as Christopher Lee's character in that.
So he's just kind of weird. He's the weird guy. And people, they don't totally just blow him off because they kind of know, but they're also like, this guy again, Here's the town Fruit Loop, you know. And Rebecca, who is the mother, she learns that Jocelyn's son was taken 12 years prior. And so she goes to confront him and be like, what the hell is happening with this?
Right.
And he goes into the story of the Galagog. It's a lot like Wicker Man, where the townspeople are just like, I don't know what you're talking about. What girl is that? And just trying to downplay the whole thing. But there's a couple things that kind of stood out to me that I thought were odd and also kind of created plot holes. And that's what I'm going to discuss.
Okay.
It's disappointing. So in the beginning, when the police come over to get a statement and all that, they start taking stuff out of Grace's bedroom. And Mom's like, what the hell are you doing? Thinking, well, it's just an attachment because it's her daughter and she's lost her and blah, blah, blah. But they're saying, oh, well, it's so the dogs can follow the scent.
Right.
That is not what that's for. But there's no real explanation of what it's for either.
Yeah.
I felt like it, because they took drawings down that they later showed were actually still missing. Because she had a lot of drawings and crafts and things in her room that kind of resembled the symbolism
Right.
behind
I think
the
that's
Harvest
where they were
Festival.
trying to scrub the room for that because, well, I don't want to give too much of the plot away, but I'm pretty sure they were just trying to scrub the room of the things.
That's what I got out of it too.
Give stuff away.
But they didn't really explain that.
Right.
It just looked like they were just jerks.
Yeah, at the beginning, it looks like jerks. And later on, when you find out what's really going on, you kind of have to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
see what they were doing.
Exactly. But it took me sitting there thinking about it to go, oh, it just wasn't explained in any way. And I know we talk about not having every detail explained in movies. This was something.
Some explanation is good.
Yeah, just a little dab. In this movie, there are two older women. One's name is Ida. I don't remember the other one's name. I think they're sisters or friends or something.
Yeah, are they sisters? Or I was like, are they sisters or are they a couple? I just didn't know.
Exactly.
I had no idea.
It could have been.
Or just friends, like live together, roommates. I had no idea.
Could have been like Bert and Ernie.
It wasn't really explained.
No, it was not. And part of what wasn't explained in there as well was that one of the women just kept laughing.
Yeah.
And at first you're like, oh, well, it's because, they don't care and they think, well, this is a big joke. You know?
Exactly. I think, when they kind of all come over to the house after the daughter's been taken and they bring food and everything. And she's still, super distraught. The husband's kind of and then everybody else is just kind of laughing and carrying on like it's no big deal, And I just think that was kind of the first little inkling that things were not as they seem.
Yes, that was definitely the case in this. While Rebecca's investigating, she comes across basically what's like a school, and they refer to it as the Nature Club. And it was just a bunch of kids that were not being watched in any way, playing in this really small little room that had a stage.
Yeah.
It was kind of a strange situation. I mean, it would probably be because the town is so small that there wouldn't be much to entertain in there, and that would be it. But so the little girl that was hanging out with her daughter, when she disappeared, she's trying to ask her questions, and the little girl's laughing in her face and all that, which once again reminded me of Wicker Man when they're in the classroom and the kid's lying about it. And then she slaps the little girl.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's a little aggressive.
Right.
Not really necessary. I mean, I understand she was upset, and the little girl was taunting her, and she said something pretty nasty to her, and I don't remember what it was.
I don't either.
But finally, she gets the little girl to explain.
Yeah.
Kind of. And she goes to the stage, and if you've ever been into an old theater auditorium, the old stages had these panels in the front that you would open up, and it was usually where the chairs and tables and things like that would be placed under. I used to play under one when I was a kid. It was very unsafe. So they go under that thing, and I'm sitting there going, is she just going to go and pull out some chairs and tables and set up a little
banquet?
Yeah, banquet dinner, you know.
Potluck.
Yeah, a potluck of goats.
Yeah.
And they go into this weird room that just has all of the symbolic pictures and whatever of their rituals, and kind of starts explaining the Galagog to her, and it just kind of goes into that. And then that's just left.
Yeah.
Once again, a cool place. Things could have happened, and it didn't.
Yeah.
And I was a little disappointed in that one. They always talk about the Black Barn, which is where the Galagog, he hangs out.
Yeah.
That's his jam right there, is just hanging out in the Black Barn. Well, the Black Barn just appears out of nowhere. Yeah. And it does not make sense to me.
Well, I thought maybe it was just kind of like a portal or something to his realm or whatever, and maybe that's just how humans perceive it as a barn, you know?
The building itself seems symbolic in the same way that it did in Midsummer. And it was the same idea. It just seemed like it copied.
Yeah.
You see that a lot throughout this, is that, yes, you said, well, yeah, there are going to be some overlaps, you know, because it's kind of the same idea, but it was a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely very derivative, for sure.
Yeah. And how I explained to Josh later when I really processed it, is I felt like this is folk horror 101.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you don't really want to go in depth on things and have things factual in any way, this is the movie for you.
Yeah, it's just kind of a mishmash of stuff. Like, they just kind of, you know, like I said, cafeteria paganism, they just kind of picked and choose things they wanted to use. And then some things were totally like, you know, like, I guess, I don't know if I want to say misconstrued or whatever, because like Lord of Misrule, as we discovered in our research, you know, it was basically kind of like an office that people were positioned to oversee feasting and revelry during Christmas. It had nothing whatsoever to do with the harvest. So I thought, you know, it's kind of interesting that they just kind of took these bits and pieces and just kind of repurposed them for their own ends.
That's exactly it, because if, like I said, the book was supposed to take place during the summer, but then the Lord of Misrule's during the winter. Yeah. And then this took place during the fall harvest. It was like, that looks cool. I'll take one of those. Yes, I need some horns.
Exactly.
You know? And it was disappointing, because I was really excited, because I was like, well, I was not thrilled with this movie. So I was excited to at least go into the research of it and learning more about this, you know, the stories behind it and the truth behind it. And there's not any real truth to it. It's just, I felt like this looked cool, and so I'm going to put this here.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like Wicker Man, so therefore I'm going to make all of this.
Yeah.
And the director, he had said that when he was a kid, he saw Wicker Man in the theater. And he actually saw the remake later on, you know, with Nicolas Cage. And he was so worried that they were going to ruin it. And then I'm like, what the fuck did you just do with this movie? It was just like a dumpster fire.
Well, no, I didn't think it was as bad as you did, but I also wasn't like, I was basically just looking to be entertained, you know. I wasn't really looking for anything deeper from it, I guess, you know. If I want, you know, something a little more, there's other movies, you know. There's The Witch, or there's The Wicker Man. This one, I just didn't really go into it with any expectations other than to be entertained, so... You know, I'm not saying I thought it was this great movie or anything, but I didn't dislike it as much as you did. I'll put it that way.
Well, and I think it's because I kind of have a higher expectation now, especially with this genre, just, you know, coming right up behind all the other ones.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you got stuff like Wicker Man and Midsummer and The Witch all kind of setting the bar, you know, it's hard to... Those are big shoes to fill. All those movies are huge shoes to fill, so...
Well, and it seemed like... Because, like I said, he wanted to go complete opposite direction of Midsummer. So he did, by picking and choosing, he was like, oh, no, we can't do that, but we can do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, you had years to make this a good movie. I mean, Midsummer came out, I don't even know what year it was. It was a while ago.
It's been a while now,
at least 5 years. And... yeah, more than 5 years at this point.
Yeah.
So there was really no excuse for this to not be a good movie.
Yeah.
It barely scratched the surface of what it could have been.
Agreed.
The imagery of it was really dark and spooky, but not enough.
Yeah.
And they didn't use it properly.
Yeah.
The mask that Jocelyn wears is bananas.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And they even talk about it in that interview of how much work they put into making that mask and getting it correct and all that. And then... they barely used it. Yeah. And it could have been used better. All of it could have been used better.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I go and do the research for this stuff, I don't read other people's reviews and that kind of thing because I don't care. And I do all the other research I possibly can outside of that.
Right.
But because there's such little information about this movie, probably because it didn't do very well, is my guess.
Right.
And not a lot of other people really did review it. So when I did find that article on Fangoria, I was like, well, thank God something is out there. And it's an actual interview with the director as opposed to, you know, somebody that put some crap on Wikipedia.
Right.
Which there's not even that much on Wikipedia. There's not that much on IMDb. Nothing.
Right.
It's really, I'm like, well, I wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
And then I did come across another review where basically they're saying the same thing I'm saying, where it's like, yeah, they just threw it away. They threw away a good opportunity.
Yeah.
And so it was just disappointing. I mean, you have this great actor who's spooky as shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ralph Ineson is clearly the best thing about this movie.
Yes. Like I said, that's what sold me on even watching it to begin with. And then it just fell short of all of that. And I was bummed.
Yeah, yeah. It did fall short for sure. Like I said, I didn't dislike it as much as you did. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, Ralph Ineson's performance, he's good in anything I've seen him in so far. But yeah, as far as the rest of it, I was, you know.
And they
just kind of painfully mediocre in spots. And
That's
like you said,
exactly.
a lot of missed opportunities where things could have been a lot scarier, a lot cooler.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and they kept repeating the story
Yeah.
over and over again. And one thing that that review that I read did mention in this, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense, is that all this artwork is up. And it's just like Midsummer. But in Midsummer, they don't explain things.
Right.
You just see it, and if you don't see it, you need to go back and watch it again to see it, because it's all right there explained to you.
Yeah.
But in this movie, they just kept explaining it and not letting the artwork speak for
Well,
itself.
that was one thing that was kind of interesting to me now that you bring it up, is that some parts were over-explained. Some things not explained at all.
Yeah.
Like, you know, why did Ida kind of go mad for a little bit there? That wasn't ever really explained. She just kind of went bonkers for a couple scenes, and then by the end, she's basically back to normal.
Yes.
You know, it's just like, and then, like you said, just kind of over-explaining the whole Galagog thing. It's like, well, we could have used some explanation over here. You know, a little bit of explanation over here, not so much over here.
Yeah,
You know, it's
and
like,
I could have used a little more Galagog for that matter. It was a cool character, and it wasn't used as much. I don't want it to be a lot, because then it kind of ruins its element of surprise, but it still wasn't used to its full extent.
Agreed.
I mean, you look at movies like The Exorcist, and you see Regan, and obviously she's in there a lot. But the fact that they use that imagery in different ways and in different parts of the movie to where it's not like it's overdone.
Right.
And the same thing could be done with a lot of these other demons, or, you know, as I like to refer to it, because I always think of Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
The boss.
Yeah.
At the end.
Final boss.
The final boss. That's what I think of. I know it's so ridiculous, but I'm like, that's what Galagog was. He was the final boss. He was the big thing to overcome and whatever. So that was disappointing. There had a few scenes that were supposed to be shocking, which fell flat on their fucking ass.
I agree.
The burning thing,
Yeah.
I was like, boy, Midsummer.
Yeah, exactly. And
was-
Wicker Man, for that
And
matter.
Wicker Man, yeah. And it's always a man, you know.
Yeah.
But they didn't explain why he had to also be sacrificed as well as the daughter.
There was a whole thing about this was pretty easy to lose in all the over-explaining that was going on.
Yeah.
But they were talking about how the original guy that drove out Galagog, when the Christians came in, they killed him. And I think Henry being burned was symbolic of that.
Oh, yeah. See? Missed that point all there.
They kind of gloss over that.
And why would you? That's supposed to be a shocking moment.
Yeah, they didn't go into that as much as they should have either.
So, but then they had other opportunities, like the chanting. The chanting is really creepy.
Yeah.
So between some of the shocking imagery, the chanting, they had a good solid base to this, but they just threw it away. And it just, between not explaining, over-explaining, just skating right over some shit that just needed to be explained.
Yeah, it was a little all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty disappointing, and I see why it hasn't had a lot of attention.
Yeah.
You know, all the Facebook horror groups, they like to beat a dead horse.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about this movie. I mean, this is, like I said, this is Folklore 101. This is where you start. And then maybe you could handle Midsummer instead of bitching and complaining
I don't know.
about it.
Personally, I would start with Wicker Man.
Well, I do too, but I'm saying for people nowadays who can't handle old movies,
Well, yeah, okay.
you know, and they always want to talk about Midsummer so much.
Yeah.
And God, that horse. There's at least 12 horses have been beat for that one.
At least.
But this would have been a good starting point for them. And then when they got to Midsummer, be like, wow, this is amazing, you know, because it's so much better. And I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to stand by Midsummer.
Oh yeah,
It's a fantastic movie. I'll watch it anytime it's on. We own the son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know how many other people have watched it. Have you watched this movie? Do you like
so
this
what did
movie?
you think of it?
Because it's I don't know. I was pretty disappointed.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it and just did not live up to expectations, unfortunately.
No, there would be no amount of drugs that would have made that more fun.
I was hoping for kind of like a hidden gem, you know, but then I can kind of see why nobody really talked about it, if we're being honest.
Exactly. Well, and like I said, the director, he had directed a couple other movies that I don't even remember what they're called because they were so unmemorable. And then, but they're like trying to say, oh, well, the director of this and this. And I'm like, what are those?
Yeah.
That doesn't impress me when you directed garbage before
Right.
and then you direct this and you also fuck up this opportunity as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So.
Stick to Wicker Man.
Yeah, stick to Wicker Man. You know, stick with the OGs of full core. We're always hoping for a new full core that's cool, but you know, they're few and far between, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, and there are a couple that we are going to cover still, and some that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
One was mentioned was the Ennis Men.
Oh yeah.
I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Enys. Ennis.
I think.
Sure. That was mentioned in an article, so we're going to check that one out.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah.
You know, I think starting with The Witch would be hard.
Yeah.
Because damn it if I don't need subtitles sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot with that one. Anyway, we want to know what you think about it.
Yeah.
And we appreciate everybody who continues to follow us and watch our programmings.
Yeah.
We would appreciate if you would continue to like and subscribe and share with all your friends and family and the neighbors, neighborhood cats and dogs, the elephant up the street, newspaper guy. And then you could start singing, who are the people in your neighborhood? No? Okay. Anyway, I think that's it for this one.
Sounds good.
Yeah. We're not going to watch it again.
Probably not.
No. But we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
Bye.